So thank you for texting.
Yeah.
I'll be sure and use the mute button liberally.
Liberally, yeah.
Yeah.
No, as opposed to conservatively.
That's right. I'll use it as much as I need to, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use it, I don't know, like a libertarian, as much as I want to. No one can coerce me otherwise.
Yeah. So let the government get near that mute button.
Yeah, it's my mute button. You can go, I don't know, get your own mute button. You're not using my tax money for it. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the Vomitorium, episode 118. As always, I'm your host, Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. Off to a rocky start, but honestly, it's probably been a weird week for both of us, respectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just getting over some type of cold or something. I don't know, but I'm feeling a lot better than I was the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm. I haven't like shaved in 3 days, but wait, here I am.
I shaved this morning.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Everything. Except my eyebrows are still there. I didn't go that far.
I realized I haven't gotten a haircut since I moved into here. Into this apartment. It's been like 4 months.
4 months. Oof.
Desperately need a haircut.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's why I shaved my head.
But yes, I was eating and was confused because of MLK Day. I didn't have any work on Monday, so I didn't realize it was Wednesday. But here we are.
Yeah, you just need a loud blaring alarm that goes, "It's Wednesday!" every single Wednesday.
Well, or just put something in my calendar that, you know.
That triggers a loud blaring alarm.
It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to make a noise. Like you texted me, and it was right next to me because I was in the kitchen eating. And
yeah, I figured your phone was probably going to be closer to you than whatever Discord was on.
Yeah. No, actually, it came through on my laptop, so. I always have some device near me, even when I'm asleep.
It's probably not good. I can't judge. My phone is usually right next to me when I'm sleeping too, but that's probably not good.
Well, I usually don't have my phone near me. I usually have my laptop, but I tend to close it, before I go to bed, before I go to sleep. So it's near me, but it doesn't do anything. It's completely. But in this case, it was right next to me because I was. Oh, I know what I was watching a video while I was eating dinner. Nothing interesting. Something political. It was a Lauren Southern video.
Well, Lauren Southern is one of the hottest guys I've ever seen.
It's very, very informative.
So, obviously, we know what the elephant in the room is today, as of like the last couple days.
The Cuphead show, obviously.
No, but we can't talk about that. That's probably important.
Later.
Yeah.
The bigger elephant.
The bigger elephant. The elephant that's been wrangling around every smaller elephant and adding it to its herd, whether it wants to or not. Microsoft. Oh boy, Microsoft. See, I don't like this. I don't like the thing we're about to talk about. I don't think it's good for Microsoft. I don't think it's good for Activision Blizzard. I don't think it's good for the video game industry, but it is what it is. Microsoft has just purchased Activision Blizzard and every single subsidiary underneath them, which, if you actually look at that chart, it basically pulled in several million to billion-dollar game companies under one umbrella all at once. Very risky maneuver, I would say, with the reputation that Activision Blizzard has now. I personally think, at least from my perspective, this only hurts Microsoft Gaming's reputation, not helping Activision Blizzard, unlike the Bethesda buyout. But that's not really the problem that I have with this. It's just more of the fact that Microsoft is slowly just sucking up all of the major North American game companies, just so it can funnel everything under Microsoft Game Pass as their way of competing in the industry.
Well, I think the reason I think it was probably a good time for somebody to acquire them, because obviously Activision Blizzard's stock was way down.
It was an opportunistic moment for sure.
Yeah, it was imminently predictable. That I think a lot of people said that they were. I don't know if they were looking for a buyer or buyers were looking for them or what, but yeah. I mean, what? Okay, so what? Who else? Microsoft bought Bethesda and whatever the company was called. That's not even a North American company, but the company that owned Minecraft.
Mojang.
Mojang, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, they've been doing this for a while now, too. Just most of them have been sitting, like, on the back burner. Like, they bought Rare way back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But they've also been picking up some smaller companies as well, moving towards the bigger ones. And it seems like they're just waiting for the opportunity to pick up these big guys like Activision Blizzard. I wouldn't be surprised if they even went and hunt down some companies that aren't around anymore just to buy like their licensing, whatever like limbo they're sitting in. Like Midway USA has been dead since 2008 or something like that. But a lot of the license for that, Atari could easily be bought out at this point. One of the only people that I'm sure they definitely want but wouldn't be able to unless they hit rock bottom would be EA. But the thing is about Activision Blizzard is there's only so many major companies now because things like AB and EA and all this have already bought out a lot of these other ones anyway. Like I said, incorporating Activision Blizzard already brings in like 10 companies with them.
Yeah, including, I didn't realize they owned King.
Yeah. Candy Crush is now a Microsoft property.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's funny.
Microsoft does own the company that owns Ori and the Blind Forest, yeah.
So, yeah, I imagine King is probably one of the biggest properties.
Yeah.
That Activision had. I mean, but here's the thing. Microsoft is now the third biggest game studio in the world.
Yes.
It's not the biggest. So Sony's still bigger. And Tencent.
Yes.
Is bigger. So, I don't know. I kind of looked at it like, all right, whatever.
Well, I mean, like, I already just like the size of Sony and Tencent either. Not because, from a success point, but from more of they got as big as they did by just incorporating other entities.
Now, Sony doesn't own Square Enix, though, right?
No,
they're still independent.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's one of the problems, too, right? Because I saw a lot of people memeing. That's like, oh, next thing you know, Microsoft's going to buy out Nintendo. It's like, that's physically impossible. The country of Japan would not allow that acquisition to happen. But you have to look, as a entity, Microsoft is bigger than Nintendo. Microsoft is worth like, on paper, $1.7 trillion. Nintendo has a rough estimate of $80 billion. But that's only an estimate because their finances aren't public, and they probably have at least $100 billion just in the bank alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, Microsoft's a bigger entity, But if you were to just take the Microsoft gaming division, Nintendo blows the thing out of the water like 100-fold. It would not be worth to spend the amount of money, because then you'd have to also like triple or at least double what the company is worth to make it worth them selling out in most cases. Couldn't happen.
Wait, you're saying that the game division of Microsoft is smaller than Nintendo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they say it's the third biggest game studio, they're including all of Microsoft?
I think so, yeah. That's what they usually do when they include Sony. Now, there's also the fact that a lot of these studios look bigger compared to Nintendo as well, because Nintendo's finances aren't public. Mm-hmm. So everything's estimate. Nintendo is estimated at only being worth $80 billion. But that's all estimates.
Yeah.
And many times over, they said they have at least $100 billion in the bank, so...
Yeah, they've constantly said that. Interestingly, since the news hit, Nintendo stock went up about 4%.
Yeah, and Sony actually hit a big loss from this too. I had it pulled up. Their market value dropped by $20 billion after the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Which is its biggest stock hit since 2008.
Mm-hmm. Nintendo net income is $79 billion.
Yeah,
that's profit.
Yeah.
Their annual income is $80 billion.
Yeah. But that's what people rate their net by for some reason. It's like, no, they're worth way more than that.
Yeah, that's a 1 year's worth of profit. Yeah, they haven't been profitable every year, but...
Well, yeah, and they're also a fucking 100-year-old company that invests its money back into itself. Like, they have a lot more money than it's publicly announced.
They're 130 years old.
Yeah.
133, actually.
They're old as fuck.
That's incredible. Founded in 1889. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, that was the first thing I thought. I looked at this, and everyone was like, ha ha, Sony. And I was like, well, Nintendo doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, they are, but also Nintendo is just like, probably like, ha ha ha, Sony, and like, ha ha, Microsoft, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like, we don't give a shit. This affects us absolutely zero.
Yeah, like we have Fishoso in the chat saying Microsoft is probably as big as Disney. To some degree, it depends how you value them. I actually did some rough math before on what I thought the value of Nintendo was. We talked about this. And I actually had come to the conclusion that Nintendo as a company was worth more than Disney. Because one thing that they forget is that Nintendo is also a part owner in the Pokemon Company, which is worth like $200 billion on its own on a year-to-year basis. Not even like what its actual net worth is. That's just its like year profit is like $200 billion. It's like 190 something. And it's like, yeah, but they're only part owners. Also part owners are Nintendo, Creatures Inc., and Game Freak. And Creatures Inc. is a company that's also owned half by Nintendo and Game Freak. So half of the Pokemon Company is owned by Nintendo. And Pokemon is the largest franchise in the world by far, throwing everything into the water. People don't know how to worth things. I would say Microsoft might be as big as Disney. Might be bigger, actually. I think people overestimate how much Disney's worth. Most of their revenue, believe it or not, had come from the parks and merchandise for most of Disney's history. The whole point to their films and shows and everything is just for making more merchandise. Obviously, that's how you make most of your money. And the parks were always the biggest sellers of the merchandise. And the parks have been taking major hits in the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look it up, but it's hard to tell. It's unclear whether the numbers I was just looking at with Nintendo were in dollars or Japanese. Yeah. because
if it was in yen, you'd have to go down 2 orders of magnitude.
Yeah, it appears that their revenue in 2021 may have only been 15 billion. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
But that's a problem with a lot of these companies too. Like, there was another really big game company that was excluded from the list. I'm trying to remember who it was because all of their revenue isn't public. Oh, Roblox. All of the revenue of Roblox is not public, so it was further down on the list than it probably should be.
Yeah. And when it says revenue, is that just for 1 month or 1 quarter? Can't tell. 18.5. I mean, it looks like Microsoft's total revenue for their whole company is like more than twice that of Disney.
Yeah. No, Disney's not actually in as good of a place as it used to be.
Yeah.
People boast like it's this huge conglomerate company, and it is, but it's constantly bleeding everywhere.
Yeah. What is now? Currently.
It even kind of has been. Like, people have been paying attention for the last decade. It keeps pulling things in, but it's bleeding money out left and right through its acquisitions.
Yeah. Dario has a question for you.
Yeah. I'm in a karate gi. Yes. I am periodically. Okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's a thing. So, yeah, I mean, okay. So, anyway, Microsoft acquired all of Blizzard, which means Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo.
Yeah.
They've acquired, like, all the Call of Duty.
Yes.
Spyro.
Guitar Hero.
Banjo-Kazooie, was that in the mix?
No, they already had Rare.
Okay.
They already owned Banjo-Kazooie.
There was another one.
Crash Bandicoot?
Crash Bandicoot. I always get those two.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Activision. They would have basically control of Toys for Bob, so they have Skylanders now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, whatever happened to Skylanders?
I don't know. I kind of Toys to Life faded out for the most part.
Yeah. What's funny is that probably is what inspired Nintendo Amiibo, right?
Yes, for sure.
And then that's taken off like crazy, whereas Skylanders disappeared off the face of the earth.
They were still around for quite some time. There was also another competitor, was Disney Infinity, which sucked, honestly. The cool things about Skylanders was if you owned a Skylander, you could use that one in any version of the game that came out after that one came out, right? So 3 sequels later, you could still use the original Skylanders. Cool thing about Amiibo is while they're not usable in every game, as long as the game recognized that type of Amiibo, you could use it. So it wasn't just like locked to a single game. Disney Infinity fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Because
I had like a game on the PlayStation 3. I guess it was the Disney Infinity game or something like that. I had that. It kind of sucked.
Yeah, because you could only use characters in their level that they were designed for, or the toy box. And you couldn't even use characters in the toy box from different versions of the game. So like 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 were different versions. So you couldn't use like 1.0 Donald Duck in 2.0 at all. It was the worst. And it's something you expected from Disney to just like make this a huge income sink.
Yeah. Do you remember, did you ever watch the toy reviews that Ethan Van Sciver used to do of Star Wars toys? Where he did like, they all had, like he had the toys that came with like a bracelet kind of thing that tied in with the toy and made noises, and they never worked right. It was always shit. He was like, it doesn't even work. And then when it works, it kind of still sucks. And it's like, ugh. That's Disney.
Disney pretty much. Actually, I remember there was a fourth one that almost went under the radar, but probably actually made more money than any of them. And there was a Lego game. I can't remember the exact name of it, but there was a Toys to Life Lego game where it was a bunch of minifigs. So they would come with like a vehicle too, and they would have a platform. And the platform was basically the NFC holder. And you put your minifig on the platform, whatever, but you could take them off and play with them as actual minifigs. And you would scan them into like this Lego universe world. And the cool thing was, it was more like Skylanders in that way, where you could use them in any world, regardless of who the property the minifig belonged to. You could use like the Jurassic World stuff in like Indiana Jones or whatever.
Isn't that how Disney Infinity worked?
There was you could only. Yeah, it was like that, but like you could only use the Cars characters in the Cars world or the toy box. While the Lego one, you could use any character in any world and their Lego toy box. So it was like a better version of Disney Infinity.
Well, now I'm not sure which one I had. I had one of those too.
Yeah.
I remember there was like a portal thing, and I think it was Lego. Where you had to
they
put
both had a
this
portal.
Thing.
But the Lego one, you actually had to assemble it because the portal was made of Lego. Yeah.
So I guess I had the Lego one.
You probably
instead,
had the Lego
because I remember putting together the portal, and then you put the character on, it'd show up in the video game.
Yeah, because the Disney portal, you literally just plug it in. It already comes. Oh. It's a solid plastic piece.
Then I definitely have the Lego one. Interesting. Yeah, well, there's still Amiibo around.
Yeah, they're still making them, so that's oof.
Yeah.
Only Toys to Life that really succeeded. I think Skylanders is still around. I'll tell you what made the biggest hit on that, on why those Toys to Life kind of stopped. Toys R Us disappearing. That was the major place most people went to buy them. Now they just order them off of Amazon if they're still ordering them, but it's not the same. So like the easiest way to sell to kids, right, is because they see them. Lego Dimensions, that was okay.
That's what it was. I had that. That's what I had.
Yeah. But yeah, the easiest way to sell that stuff to parents is for the kids to see it in the store, right? They see it in the store, and then they nag their parents to buy it. And there's a small section next to the games, next to the Amiibos. There was a Lego Dimension. There was a Disney Infinity. There was a Skylanders and stuff. But those areas are very, very small at a Walmart because they all have to share the same space. The only one that doesn't share the same space is Nintendo's Amiibos are over in the Nintendo section because Nintendo gets their own section. But at Toys R Us, there was like a whole wall for Skylanders and a whole wall for each of them, which means there was a higher variety and you'd see stuff you didn't have already more than just like the next quarter.
And the thing is, like, the Amiibos weren't really the same thing. Like, other than, I mean, would they even, like, come to life in the games in, like, Smash Brothers?
It depends what you're talking about, but yeah, in Smash Brothers, that was actually the best use of the Amiibo, period.
I was going to say, I think Smash Brothers was what sold Amiibos.
Yes, and they technically did come to life. What they did is when you scanned them in, they became a computer you could play against, but they were a learning computer. And they would get better the more you fought. They would learn your play habits. And it would memorize it in the NFC, like little chip data.
Yeah.
And eventually it would just kick your ass. Like the more you played against it, the more it would just start to kick your ass. It was really fun. Painful, but fun. And that's definitely what sold it. Other games, they would usually just give you, like, I don't know, a bonus or a power-up or something like that. But Smash is how they use it. They really need to do that for more. I know it would be harder for more games, but that's what they needed to. Like, Mario Party would have been great for it. If, like, the computers could learn play habits, that would be pretty cool, too. I understand that uses up a lot of the limited memory that's inside one of these little NFCs that you probably can only have it dedicated to one game. Like you couldn't have Smash and Mario Party learning AI in the same NFC. You probably could only have one.
Sure about that?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you probably could, but like I don't know, because the Smash Learning AI is very, very complicated.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I know. Yeah, I don't know. I never use it for Smash, but I used them a lot for Breath of the Wild and Splatoon. There was a usage of them in Splatoon. They got you something. But that was mostly what I used them for, was to get stuff in game.
Yeah.
And really the only one that like came to life was the Wolf Link one.
Yeah, that one is also under the Toys to Life category because Wolf Link literally does come to life.
Yeah. Well, in the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what they mean.
Maul you.
Well, that's what they mean with Toys to Life, right? Is you have a toy, you scan it, and it comes to life in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm less negative about the Microsoft acquisition than you are because I'm more ambivalent. I'm just like, I could see a downside because you look at Disney acquiring Marvel and that only led to bad things, except for Marvel Studios. That got pretty good for a while. And then AT&T acquiring DC Comics, which I don't know, it may have gone this way anyway, but led to sort of the terribleness of DC Comics.
I don't think AT&T acquiring them really changed anything because like their animations were still good before they were acquired and they were still good after. Yeah. The comics were starting to suck before they got acquired, and they sucked afterwards. They seemed like all it did was keep them alive long enough to continue the trajectory they were already on.
Yeah.
And that's probably the case with Marvel, too, aside from Marvel Studios, which would not have existed without Disney. But, like, every other aspect of Marvel, they were already on this route, and it just kept them alive long enough to continue going on the route.
Yeah, you kind of have to wonder, like, would they have... If they hadn't been acquired, either of those, would they have finally had to have some sort of come to Jesus moment and been like, look, we got to be profitable or we're screwed or we're closing our doors. Maybe. Right? But if they're owned by Disney and AT&T, they're just like, money. What's money? That doesn't matter. They can just continue to be shit.
It's hard to propose a counterfactual like that since you can't prove it. But
yeah.
I can say that there's probably a different course of events that would have happened if neither of them ever got bought out. And it is more likely... Warner actually was the first part to do this before they got bought by AT&T. They've owned DC for quite some time. But, let's say they never got bought out. Then probably what we would have seen is a crash of the American comic book industry in general. Maybe they would have had to sell off a lot of their IPs because they might have went big with these companies. And,
like Marvel did with Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then we probably just wouldn't see them as entities anymore. I think that's the case if they don't get bought out because I don't think they had time to get good or anything like that. It was like at the end of it. We would have just seen maybe a resurgence. I don't think any of their competitors were strong enough to hold up the industry without them, like Dark Horse or Image at the time. Like Image was still pretty strong. It just gained its strength out of the 90s, but I don't think it was strong enough to hold up an industry that we probably would have seen a collapse of the American comic industry, and then it probably would have to rebuild from the ground up.
Yeah. Well, see, so good things and bad things could happen. Yeah. I'm, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is World of Warcraft still sort of on hiatus in terms of development, or because for a while they kind of put new development on hold, and it's kind of like if Microsoft hadn't bought them, I wonder what would have happened. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know if they would have been able to rescue it. Or if it had just continued to, I don't know. I mean, I imagine they would have just figured out how to get back online or back, on track. But Yeah, I feel like Blizzard in particular was really in trouble until this.
Yeah.
And this could... I mean, here's the thing. Microsoft's done great with Minecraft. I don't think there's any complaints. I don't know if anybody has any complaints.
I don't think so. Well, there are some. They're a small minority. Because a lot of Minecraft's improvements back in the earlier day actually did come from, like, users. Like, sourcing things from the forum. Users would, like, submit code for, like, bug fixes and stuff, and then Notch and Mojang would come in and they would actually apply it. And that's how a lot of the early improvements were, which is
kind of
also why
source,
it was... Yeah, and it was very slow, which stopped immediately after the purchase, of course, because they have a corporate entity, and you don't want to be liable to if like you're just sourcing things from people when you have a team that should be developing that stuff. That could lead to all sorts of problems. But you know, it's a very small, minor complaint from a small group of people whose voice ultimately just doesn't matter to the company anymore.
I mean, it's hard to imagine how Microsoft could do any worse for Diablo 4 compared to what an awful disaster Diablo 3 was, and the current state of World of Warcraft. And I was just going to say, I was watching Asmongold, I don't know, a day or two ago, and he was saying, look, think of it, he's just talking about World of Warcraft. He was like, imagine the quality of World of Warcraft is determined by the roll of a 20-sided die. Yeah. Right? And right now, you've rolled like a 4. And that's the quality of World of Warcraft. But now Microsoft has it. You get to roll again. Would you like to roll again when you're staring at a 4? Yeah, it could get worse, but there's a bigger chance it'll get better.
Yeah, but here's my ultimate concern by all this, right? I've been warming up to Microsoft's gaming division, not to Xbox, because I still have absolutely no desire to get an Xbox. But as far as a gaming division, I had been warming up to Microsoft for like the last generation now. They seem to have been doing some good things. But also, every single time I start warming up to them, they start doing some bullshit, right? So a lot of the problems usually start with Sony, and then they want to copy Sony, like how Sony started doing their censorship type stuff, and then how they're banning users based on like certain naughty words that you and I wouldn't even agree are naughty words. And Valve and Microsoft are following. We're like, okay, I'm not going to blame them too heavy. They're just blindly following industry trends. But then lately, Microsoft has been taking the lead on some of this stuff. And part of it might be because they're acquiring so much. So they've been starting to talk about cross-platform censorship and global bans, where if you get banned on one platform, you get banned on all platforms, and calling for like solidarity between other gaming companies like Sony and stuff like that. And this is a hard thing to acquire until you acquire everyone. You know, that is my problem, is I don't like this idea of, I don't know, I'm playing a Blizzard game and, well, now everything's going to be under Xbox. Your Blizzard tag is going to be linked to your Microsoft gamer tag. And I'm playing a Blizzard game and I got wrongfully accused of something that I have absolutely no reason to be punished for. But they believe the other person. I'm permanently banned there. And now I can't play Killer Instinct, which is a rare game, because Microsoft owns all of this, and because I was banned over here in World of Warcraft, now my gamer tag is banned from playing Killer Instinct Online.
Yeah, I think that's asking for lawsuits. I mean, I know people are kind of doing it right now, and they're not really are they getting sued? Like when people lose their entire libraries for shit like that?
I have no clue. Maybe they're getting sued. I haven't seen any cases on it, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be class action lawsuits just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
then again, even if you got 1,000 people, you're not going to have as much money as Microsoft's lawyers, So.
Well, that's the issue. Yeah. If they do go forward and some of this stuff, we might see them, certain good graces disappear, right? Like, Nintendo and Microsoft are working well together at the moment. We even have, like, Minecraft is on Switch. But you might even see Minecraft get pulled from Switch if Nintendo's not fine with banning people who have Microsoft bans. They're like, why should we ban our users from using our online because they did something over on your platform, right?
Yeah. And Nintendo hasn't been censoring the way Sony
No, they haven't.
So, what was that game that we talked about before that they completely changed? It was like something in girls.
It was like, was it 20 girls to 20 bunnies or something like that? Or was some number? Yeah.
Something like that. They changed it from 20.
Yeah,
that was pretty egregious. So yeah, I don't know. It's always disconcerting when there's consolidation like this, especially like you said, when ownership of games seems to be going away, and you're not going to own anything anymore. That's why I got the disc version of the PS5.
Yeah. Well, because they're trying to root it out. They've been trying to for the last two generations. Both companies have. Yeah. They have their discless version, but the previous ones, they wanted all digital, and people complained about that. They wanted online only, and people complained about that because they wanted to be able to check for your license. It's like, even if you own the disc and it's sitting in the game, we still have to check every 36 hours to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the disc is really in there.
In a related story, somebody just found out that the Diablo 2 remaster, or whatever it's called, what was it called again? Resurrected?
Yeah.
Yeah, Diablo 2 Resurrected, if you're offline for 30 days, it stops working.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me, but wow.
Yeah. You have to connect to the servers at least once every 30 days. What happens if their servers go down? It's like, fuck that. Like they go, I mean,
like they shut down it permanently. Wait,
what if Microsoft is like, fuck Diablo 2, we don't care. I guess you're screwed. I guess they'd have to, I'm sure some industrious hacker would release a patch if they didn't.
Fizzozo, you need to change your message. You put in the future, it should read, in the present, the company is trying to offer video games to you as a service that they can snatch from you whenever they like. It's happening now. That's not a future thing. They are currently trying to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Google Stadia was just a beta test or alpha test for all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like the way, like, Nintendo hasn't been running it that way. They have their online store. They actually used to incentivize. I don't know if it still is. I haven't checked the prices, but they used to be like $5 cheaper on the eShop than it was to get it physically. And it was like, okay, well, they don't have distribution fees, but they still have to host on their server, so reasonably it shouldn't cost as much. So, but they're not going to take that big of a hit for it. It's like, okay, that's understandable. As long as it's cheaper in some way, you make my brain at least feel better about it. But for the most part, they're still...
Anymore, is it?
I don't know.
Not the case anymore.
I think they might be charging the same price as distributed on the eShop.
I think so.
But it used to be like $5 cheaper for most games, at least during the 3DS and Wii U era. I haven't really been looking. But for the most part, they're still prioritizing trying to get people those physical copies. In fact, they're even using cartridges again now because flash memory has exceeded disk. Oh, shoot. Nosebleed. Because of
again. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. Could actually see it last time that happened. I couldn't even see it. Fitzjoseph says Nintendo tries to push you to buy cartridges and not to. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. So, yeah. I don't know what more to say about this. See, I don't. The problem is, other than Blizzard, and I haven't been playing Blizzard games lately, but other than Blizzard, I'm not even sure what other games. Let's see. Microsoft acquired IPs. Activision Blizzard IPs included in Microsoft acquisition. Oh, here's one. We missed Tony Hawk. So they acquired Tony Hawk, Crash Bandicoot, Call of Duty, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Spyro we mentioned Skylanders, King's Quest. What? How is King's Quest included in there? Are they owned by Activision? Activision must have bought Sierra at some point. Prototype Geometry Wars. A lot of abandoned game titles that are due a revival still owned by Activision. Guitar Hero, you doing better?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's
I didn't realize
I usually can control nosebleeds pretty well, but it helps to have something to dab it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even see the last time that happened. I couldn't see anything. This
That's
time
because I still had my mustache, and it's dirty blonde enough that if a little blood gets on it, you're not going to notice.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Activision owned King's Quest. That's interesting. Must have acquired Sierra at some point. Hexen, Phantasmagoria. Haven't seen a game from them since the 90s. Pitfall, of course. Space Quest. Zork. We're going to get a new Zork?
No, we're not getting new of almost any of these games.
But I wonder if it actually makes it even less likely that any of those games would be like loaned out. Like, I've kind of given up, or at least, I've actually spoken with Richard Garriott about the possibility that he could get back the Ultima IP, and he's like, nah, he's like, I've tried.
Yeah.
It's like, EA's not kidding. Yeah, it's not happening. But, like, what if somebody wanted to do a new Zork or I guess they'd have to pitch it to Microsoft and say, hey,
yeah,
we could make a new one.
Here's the bigger thing. Most of these games, except with the exception of Guitar Hero, I highly doubt that one's going to be on there, just because of controller reasons. But most of these games are just going to be ported into Game Pass in general. All these old games, right? So the real way, if you really want to pitch the game to Microsoft, is one, you have to get a lot of people to be on Game Pass so they can play these games, but they will see the metrics of how, like, playtime, how much these games get played. So what you want to do is you want to convince all of your fans, all the people who want this sequel, to go and play a lot of the games that they want to see sequels to. Then it'll be easy for them, like, hey, look, all these people playing the game, let's make a new one. They'll buy it.
Well, what I found is game studios will tend to respond to, or like publisher owners of IPs will respond if you can basically show them a prototype and basically tell them, well, essentially show them how it's gonna earn money for them, and show them how there's really no downside. Like that, basically
it's an investor pitch. That's all it is. Yeah, except a lot of these studios won't give you any money. No, that's the thing. It's ironically, it's like an investor pitch where you're not even asking for money. Yeah, you're just asking for the right to spend your own money. Well, it depends with Microsoft. Microsoft, probably just because it has so much money to throw at things, actually does have a history of throwing money at projects. You just have to convince them the project's worth doing. They've actually, between them and Nintendo, I think this is probably one of the areas where Sony is missing out on, but both Microsoft and Nintendo have been throwing a lot of money at indie projects lately. Things that aren't even, like, owned under their umbrella. They just want, like, a part of the return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think most of these IPs are dead in the water.
Oh yeah. I found a list of them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't even remember the last Quest for Glory game or Police Quest. Like, oh my god, they're never gonna make another one of those.
Well, what's funny too is everybody's most hated person right now, Mr. Bobby Kotick, right? The CEO of Activision Blizzard. He obviously he's in most articles for one reason or another right now, but one of them is quoting that he was talking about Microsoft has the resources to revive Guitar Hero if they want to, which I find laughable because Activision has had the resources to revive Guitar Hero for the last decade. They actually tried, I think, one time in the last decade. Guitar Hero Live bombed because they did it horribly. They didn't even put like the resources into it fully. But they've had the resources to revive it.
I think it's come and gone. It was kind of a big flash in the pan kind of fad for a couple of years, and it's just nobody's gonna be.
Oddly, there's actually a huge market for it because Clone Hero, which is an emulated Guitar Hero, is super popular. But the thing is, it works with any like Xbox version of the controller because all of them were USB ports, right? So you could plug that into any single
but it's free,
PC.
right?
And it's free, right? So, but here's the thing. The problem is the investment in the controller. The controllers are just too goddamn expensive, especially when it comes to, like, upkeep on the controller. If it goes out, you basically have to buy a new one. There's very few things, like, if it's the strummer, you can replace the spring. That's no problem. But there's certain things is, like, if it goes out, you just have to go and buy a new one. And they're more expensive than your average controller. And your average controller is as much as a game now. They're like 60, if not more. Some are $70, $80.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero controller now is probably going to cost upwards of $100 if somebody wants it. It's just not worth the investment. They'd have to find some way of driving the price of the controller down to actually make Guitar Hero viable again.
Yeah.
And then don't even get me started on the drums.
Well, here's one thing. Like, what are the chances? Oh no, this is just an article of wish lists of things. But actually, what are the chances now of there being a StarCraft 3? That could
probably happen. Lower than before, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Well, what do you think?
I think a revitalized StarCraft 2 is probably more likely than a StarCraft 3. Because StarCraft 2 is still one of the most popular games in the world, competitively. Yeah. I think far more likely than making a StarCraft 3. Now, if a revitalized StarCraft 2 did good, I could see them making a StarCraft 3. What they would probably do is like a anniversary edition or special edition of StarCraft 2 that came with everything to try to get more people into it. Because right now, really just the competitive players are still playing StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I mean, they could do a new chapter.
Yeah, they could do
with a new race or something like that.
I think an add-on to 2 is far more likely than 3 currently. I'm not saying 3 is out of the picture, but I think while it was still Activision Blizzard, jumping straight to 3 would probably have been more likely than having Microsoft's resources and be like, we could just make more of 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here's a question. What do you think about the possibility of World of Warcraft being put on Xbox Game Pass and you no longer have to pay for it other than Xbox Game Pass? Because that's to me, that would be a big deal.
Yeah, it sounds like a big deal.
Essentially, not having the additional cost of paying for it every month.
Yeah.
Setting included. I think it would get a lot of people on Xbox Game Pass, and it would get a lot more people back into World of Warcraft.
Possibly.
But I don't know if they're willing to. I don't know how much of a hit they would take for that.
That's a pretty big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because, like, when you look at how big the WoW servers are, like how much data is there, and the upkeep on those servers alone, I don't think it would be worth incorporating that into Game Pass. I think that'd be too big of a hit.
It's probably too much revenue to give up. Even if it would increase Game Pass revenue, probably not by enough.
Yeah, I think what it would end up doing on the WoW side is at best break even, and I don't think that's worth it.
Well, like I've said to you many times, I've been watching a lot of Asmongold. He's been going back to World of Warcraft, and I have to tell you, it's in a sorry state right now. Even before they sort of stopped active development, I mean, it's just a mess. So they need to get someone in there to just reevaluate it from top to bottom and just kind of redesign the whole thing from top to bottom. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Complete mess. And he's been doing a lot of videos lately on gamers that are interested in getting into it, are interested in even doing the end game content. And then when they find out what you have to do at this point to get to the end game content, they just give up.
Yeah.
They're just like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? It's not just leveling. You have to do all this other shit. It's ridiculous. It would take months and months.
Dude, and sometimes you enter a dungeon and there's like, good thing there's not a timer for the dungeon, right? Like I've been getting used to running dungeons in Final Fantasy 14 where the dungeon itself has a time limit. It's like you have an hour and a half to get this dungeon done. But they're so forgivable, that's fine. You're not going to spend that whole time. It's a good thing that they don't have timers, because often an endgame dungeon, end expansion, because there are going to be way more dungeons after that, it can take 30 minutes of them explaining and making sure everybody is on the same queue as each other before you even leave the entrance to the dungeon to actually go in and do stuff.
Yeah. And you have to get all these legendaries, and you have to get these covenants and this and that and the other, and it's like they kept adding and adding and adding without removing the old stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to do 5 different things just to get to the end game of the game, to the point where you're, at a high enough level that you can play with sort of the end game level players. And it's just and then they added a new area where you lose the ability to have a flying mount.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, I want to get my flying mount. You got to do this other stuff that takes like a literal additional month of work just to get back to flying again. And it's like,
and that's not ridiculous. Strange. Like 14 does that. Every new area, you lose the ability to fly in that new area until you progress enough. But it doesn't take you like a fucking month to do it. You just get these like little ether currents that are everywhere.
I was watching the latest thing, and there's timers. There's like mobile game style timers.
Yeah.
Where you have to get a currency of some sort, and then you buy this thing, and then you just have to arbitrarily wait 6 days.
Yeah.
Before it activates. It's like, what the fuck?
And a lot of them, what do they? Because they had this before 14 even had one. They have there's a WoW companion app type thing, right, where you can check on your characters and stuff while you're gone. A lot of the timer stuff you actually can check mobile, which, I mean, I guess thank God for them that you could do that, because it'd be horrible. You have to log in every single time you want to check them. But still, it's like you shouldn't turn your MMO into a mobile game. That's not what you should do. Or you should make a completely mobile version of the MMO. Like, if I'm going to do that, I might as well play fucking Black Desert Mobile or whatever. It's like, just get the whole experience right there on my phone. Fuck that. You know?
Turn it into Idle Warcraft.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? At this point, I think I'd be far more likely to play Idle Warcraft than World of Warcraft.
I'm going to click on my Covenant. Okay, it'll be ready in 6 days.
Yeah, whatever.
Go check on it again.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, and hopefully, because it feels like they kind of did a thing. It took a while, but they took over Minecraft and just like mastered it over the course of a few years. And they need to do that with World of Warcraft and just be like, okay, this thing is fucking broken. We need to fix this from top to bottom.
My problem is I just don't see that happening, right? So back when they did that with Minecraft and Mojang was like the third or fourth studio that they had bought, period, when it came to acquiring like game studios. And they didn't have to basically shake or like rock the whole studio to get it done. Most of Mojang was still Mojang, you know, and they were they just came in and funneled resources into them.
Yeah, it was going well already.
Yeah, funneling money into Activision Blizzard doesn't solve the problem. And it's not like buying one studio. Buying Activision Blizzard is buying a plethora of studios that all need resources and actually all need to be fired for the most part. There's some people that are obviously going to be salvageable, but a large chunk of them just need to be fired and restructured in a lot of these different companies. Places like King probably being one of the few entities that is probably fine the way it is. You don't need to change that. They seem to have been already doing fine. But like on the Blizzard end, most of Blizzard just needs to be nuked. Even most of the workers complaining about how the things are run need to be nuked. Most of them aren't good workers anyway, which means then you have to go send new workers. And they have money. Money's a good resource. They don't have enough workers already at Microsoft to fill all these positions, which means they have to go and they have to do a new hire program, which is going to take longer than just a few months to fill in all the positions. And then there's going to be training, and then there's time for synergy. And could we see something turn around in a couple of years or so? Maybe. I don't have a lot of faith in this entire chain of things happening smooth enough, because there's so many problems that can happen along the way too.
I've been involved in large company integrations like this. I worked at a health management company that had like 20 different hospitals around the country. They got bought out by a health management company that had like 250. And it took like 6 years before they fully integrated. And I mean, this could take 5 to 10 years before they fully get
Reconnection successful. Yeah. There's a bandwidth hog somewhere over here. Probably downloading games or something like that. Even though I tell everybody there's only twice a week do I need it for an hour and a half each day. Can we just not hog the internet during that time? I don't care what you do during the rest of it. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
In some form or other.
But what were we talking about? Oh, acquisition, mergers, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a messy thing. It's a very, very messy thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. People thought they were going to see changes with Bethesda overnight. It's like, I mean, you might see certain behavioral changes just because now they have the expectation of being in another company, but you're not going to see like the next game they make is instantly going to be better than the stuff they've done before or anything like that. Like, it's going to be long-term changes. It's going to take a while for things to go through, if changes are even going to be made in the first place. In a lot of cases, a company might just like what they already see, and they're like, just keep doing what you do.
Question: does Skyrim 6 come out on PS5 or any PS6 or any PlayStation or
Oh,
it'll come out on PC. At least we know it'll come on PC, right?
Yeah, it'll come on PC.
So, it's the only thing that.
I think they actually said they were paying out the PS6 exclusivity deal, or PS5 exclusivity deal for Skyrim 6. I think I heard that they're actually going to buy out the contract on that.
Or, not Skyrim 6, whatever.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah.
Elder Scrolls 6, yeah. I was like, wait, that's not right. Elder Scrolls.
Might as well be Skyrim 6 at this point, or actually maybe even higher than that.
Skyrim 1.5.
Yeah. I have no idea how many times Skyrim has relaunched.
Yeah, they recently relaunched. 10-year anniversary? Has it only been 10 years? Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah, but I think I read that they were buying out the contract on that, so I think it's going to be directly on Game Pass when it comes out, as well as being able to purchase it.
So it is not going to be on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So are they going to do a Call of Duty Halo crossover now?
I have no idea. Especially with Advanced Warfare, I mean, they could easily cross those over, but that, I don't know. They'll probably do, like, minor stuff, too. Like, since Halo has apparel and stuff now, they might have, like, Advanced Warfare gear that you could buy for your character, or vice versa. They might have, like, a Master Chief set that you could get in for the multiplayer mode. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't put it past them having small little crossovers like that.
Yeah. Well, what else is happening? What do you think of Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV show, The Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna drop out of the call real quick and come back in. I'm gonna see if that solves some of the problems. I'll be right back.
Problems again? Right.
Yeah, let me disconnect. It should disappear.
You can come right back. Okay.
Let's see if that solved anything. Probably not. Oh, God. Yeah, no, it's starting to get pretty bad. We might just have to call the show.
We were good right up until, like, just now.
Oh, you sound good now? Okay. Yeah, no, because you were still, like, roboting that whole time before.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Well, it's not your fault. It's my end, right? That's the issue.
Yeah.
It's like, even if I'm getting like 5,000 to 6,000 kilobits per second, still just showing red on OBS the entire time, which means there's probably some problem on the line for me right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me Yeah, I'm way behind. I'm way behind on Twitch.
Hey, actually, now we're finally green for the first time in half an hour on the show.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Lord of the Rings.
Quick, let's talk about something.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone's saying, so they released a new trailer or teaser, I guess.
I have not seen it. What do you think?
Well, it's nothing. It's a teaser. All it is showing the title, basically. It's the Rings of Power. And people are saying, oh, it looks cheap and stuff. And I'm like, how can you tell? It's like, there's nothing here. It's just showing the title. That's it.
Yeah. Everybody went crazy for Elder Scrolls 6 when all they saw was a JPEG in front of some moving mountains.
Yeah. At least this is like moving stuff. Apparently, I read a little blurb that said that they actually filmed, so they actually forged the title in metal in a wooden frame. So you actually see the liquid metal, like go into the frame and then cool and become the title of the show. And that was real. It wasn't CGI. I think they added some CGI or whatever, touched it up or whatever. But that was actually real. They actually did that. So that was kind of neat. But people were saying, oh, it looks all cheap. And I'm like, well, but it's real.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you say it's cheap? They actually just filmed doing that. It's
like, you have to understand. This is an audience that is too used to artificial flavors. Right? Yeah. They're so used to what artificial cherry tastes like that if you were to give them a drink made of real cherries, they would be like, this doesn't taste like cherry.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? They're so used to this highly polished, fake-ass CGI everything that if you showed the practical effects doing something to make it as realistic as possible, because it's literally real, they'd be like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, I know. I guess. Yeah. But it's weird because I'm like, okay, first of all, they're not showing us anything. Now, I'm not particularly optimistic because I've been hearing things about this show that it's going to be woke as shit.
Fucking not looking forward to it at all. Especially because the frickin' Tolkien Society are the #1 consultation on the show.
Yeah. But just from this stupid teaser. Now, there's also a voiceover that I haven't actually listened to. I watched it in, silent.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what people are referring to or whatever, but it's just weird because it's like, okay, they're not showing us anything. There's nothing to complain about yet. But, whatever. People are already complaining and saying that the teaser looks like a game trailer. And I'm like, well, that would be pretty cool too, actually. Like, what's wrong with game trailers? Is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
But I like the idea. I like the idea of delving into the origin of the rings, and it's basically going to cover the Second Age.
Well, that's what they were always talking about. Like when I think, how long ago? 2015 or whatever. I think is when they announced that they were going to be doing this. It's been in development for that long. Yeah, that's one of those many stories I remember talking about on this show back when I was originally running this show. It was either 2015 or 16 that they announced this, and they were talking about doing a show in the Second Age.
Crazy.
And honestly, I already wrote it off because but they said they were going to follow it in the same continuity as Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which means Tom Bombadil's already written out of the world. I don't want to be a part of it.
That's right. Well, and I've been watching a few little videos here and there, just random stuff of there's a couple of channels that go through history of Middle Earth and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I've become a bit more versed in it because I never got my way through with the Silmarillion. And even if I did, I read it, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. So I don't even remember the parts that I did read. But it's fascinating. There's a really in-depth, detailed history that would be fascinating to.
Yeah, and that's the first page, the Silmarillion.
Oh yeah. But I mean,
which is the coolest part.
Watching.
I mean, that's way cooler than the second age. I don't know why we wouldn't just go back to the beginning. I want to see an entire infantry of Balrog marching down the field, okay? That would be great visually. Just Or a dragon so big that is a foot on each fucking mountain and his wingspan blocks out the sun.
I want to see the spider. What's her name? Shelob.
Yeah.
I want to see her suck the life out of those trees. Whatever. I don't know. There's some trees and what's his name? Malkor.
Yeah.
And Shelob go and they kill the trees, and then there's first there's lamps and then there's trees. I don't know. It's crazy. There's all kinds of shit.
Well, there is a tree that is a lamp.
Yeah. Well, there's two trees.
Yes.
There's two lamps.
Yeah. And
Melkor, is that his name? Morgoth, something like that. Destroys the lamps, and then they become two trees.
Yes.
And then he goes and destroys the trees. And then Shelob tries to kill him, and then he fights her off.
It's funny, without knowing that that's there, right? Middle Earth just seems like a general, not even high fantasy to them. Like, there's very few, like, really out there stuff happening in the Lord of the Rings saga. There's dragons, there's wraiths and stuff. But
kind of like Game of Thrones.
The funny thing is that the island with the light and the high elves are there the entire time. It's just there way off in the distance that you can't see. Like, your ship would sink trying to get to it. But that island still exists all the way out there, and it just, you don't know about it if all you know is The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And there's a whole area to the north that was never explored in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, where all those Balrogs and the dragons were at one point.
Yep.
And the fact is, the Balrog is essentially the same race as Gandalf.
Yeah, they're the same rank on the hierarchy. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
The Balrog's just like the fallen angel version of that.
Yeah. But you're right, there was at one point like an army of them. Which is crazy. Plus, we haven't gotten to see the two blue mages yet, or wizards.
We've not. Yep.
So.
Well, that's like the cool thing is, like, in the background, Lord of the Rings is actually a ridiculously high fantasy, right? Because you've got basically genuine godlike superpowered beings that existed back in the time of like the Silmarillion, or like things that could fly, not just like the eagles, which are also like a choir of angels, but you have like the what are they, the Maiar and the Valar and stuff like that, and these things are basically like Grecian gods in the might that they have. And they put a shame to like anything that you see in the Third Age that we're used to with Middle Earth. And they technically exist. They're still technically there. You just don't see them. They kind of left back up to where Iluvatar is, but they still exist. And then when they had to write out.
They're above, Sauron was the lieutenant of one of the Maiar or whatever, or the Valar.
Yeah.
And they're like above that.
Yeah, like the actual main bad guy's chained up inside of a tower.
Yeah. And he spent like several thousand years in prison for a while. Before they let him go.
And then there's Tom Bombadil, who is actually still like a literal god just sitting in Middle Earth that you do get to meet. But, if you've only even read The Lord of the Rings, you don't even understand how strong Tom Bombadil is and why he just doesn't give a shit about anything that happens. Yeah. He's just some kooky old man in the forest that sings and rhymes everything that he says.
Is he the embodiment of Iluvatar or not?
See, this is a weird thing because nobody knows what he is. And even like with the different fan theories, There's no concise, like, this is clearly true. He's called the oldest and the fatherless, which sounds like he would be the embodiment of Iluvatar. Right. But also, he's unrecognized by, say, like, the Valar and stuff. And you'd think they would recognize Iluvatar if they saw him. Right. Yeah. Even if he was in some type of, like, human-esque form, they would recognize him. But they don't. He was there before anything else appeared on Middle-earth. He was already there, which is why he's called the oldest and fatherless. He was the first thing on the, I guess, plane or planet, whatever you want to call it. So it's really peculiar what exactly he is. He could be Iluvatar's brother for all we know. Really, it doesn't need to make sense. It's actually kind of the point to the characters. They leave you wondering.
Yeah. So who knows? Have they said that there's not going to be a Tom Bombadil in the show?
Well, they just originally said it was going to be following the continuity of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Okay. Who Bombadil was completely written out of. So that comes with the assumption that Bombadil probably won't be in it.
Maybe.
Because then, they could do this retroactively, but then they have to explain where was he during the Lord of the Rings when, in the books, he was there.
Yeah. They just didn't run into him. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, they shortened the whole beginning of the Fellowship. Because, like, half the fucking book is them leaving the Shire. Mm-hmm. And they have to, that's where they run into him, right? They end up going through the dark woods and through the Barrow Downs and stuff to get to Bree. They take the long-ass fucking way there.
Yeah.
And he gives them a horn. And he's like, if you ever need my help, blow on this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm pretty pessimistic about the show itself, but I think this particular trailer looks kind of neat to me, and I don't really get the criticism of it.
Oh, I don't either.
There's not even enough to... It's not showing anything. It's just...
My criticism would be that it's not showing anything. Like, my same criticism for the next Elder Scrolls or Metroid Prime 4, where literally it was just a JPEG, and it's like, we haven't heard anything since then.
I mean, the thing is, it's not coming out for like another 9 months, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do? I'm sure we'll hear more.
What we do is we get excited for something that might actually be worth getting excited for. And on the precipice of Mike Judge announcing that Beavis and Butthead is returning, he is also announcing that he's rolling out an entirely new animation company for this. And a new King of the Hill show is going to be part of it as well. And I loved King of the Hill. I thought that was a great show. It was great satire that was really good at poking fun at everyone while also having some heart about it.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched that show.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the last couple of seasons. But it was a cute show. It's funny
it ran from 97 to 2010.
Yeah. 97? Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny that spin-off character became longer lived and more popular than Beavis and Butthead.
Oh yeah. How could you not like Hank Hill? He's American's dad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if the bringing it back is going to be the same as it was before, but it's one of those few cases where the dad was actually kind of smart and responsible and not a clown.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. But he wasn't without fault, and that's what made him a good character. Is like he learned a lot himself, and he had the role of teacher, right? Because when you start teaching, you realize how much you still have to learn through teaching. So it wasn't that he was incompetent. It's just like he learned through trying to teach his son lessons or trying to take care of Luann and stuff like that. It was a really good character that was, I thought, handled responsibly from the writing team.
Yeah. So when is that supposedly coming back?
It just said it's coming back. I don't have an actual release for it yet, but it's not the only thing. They also have like several new series at Bandera is the name of the company, including a new series for Netflix called Bad Crimes. As an adult animation dark comedy procedural, that's literally all I got. I'm guessing it's going to be making fun of like crime scene shows. If it's done by the same people that do King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead, I'd probably watch a crime scene investigation show by them. I could see it being kind of wacky in its own way.
But it's going to be animated?
Yeah, on Netflix.
Hey, speaking of Netflix, have you seen or heard of Archive 81 on Netflix?
No, I've not.
It's the newest. It's the newest Squid Game. Kind of a surprise hit. I've watched the whole thing. I binge watched the whole thing. It's really good.
Sell me on the plot. Because my problem with Squid Game is it wasn't unique enough for me. I've seen like 100 things that are similar to that.
It's kind of interesting. It's about a what do you call it? Like a media restorer guy, a guy who restores videotapes and audio tapes and things. And he's hired to go to this remote mansion and restore this archive of videotapes. And it turns out it is like a school project, like a dissertation that this woman did 25 years prior at this hotel or at this apartment building. And she basically, so it kind of becomes like this found footage kind of thing. And basically she discovers that in this, she's actually looking for her mother who had disappeared years earlier. But it turns out in this apartment complex, there's a sinister cult that she gets caught up in that is apparently trying to bring this demon into the world from another dimension. And of course, the demon starts showing up in the tapes as the guy is, restoring these tapes. And then he starts managing to communicate with her because she had disappeared or they think killed in a fire 25 years ago in this hotel, or I keep saying hotel, apartment. But he ends up sort of communicating, and then he sees his communications with her show up basically have an effect on the tapes. So there's like a time travel aspect, sort of. But it's hard to tell if it's some of it's hard to tell if it's real or not. It's hard to tell. Is it time travel? Is it alternate dimensions? Is it both? It's kind of cool because it's like it looks like he's dreaming, but then the next tape that he does, like his dream comes true or has an effect on. So it's like a
little bit of Fatal Frame meets The Time Traveler's Wife. Yeah. I'll watch it. Yeah, that sounds unique enough. I've seen some things that are like in that general area, but that's a pretty unique plot. Yeah,
it's interesting. And it kind of, I was kind of surprised because at the end, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was expecting it seemed like it was going to wrap up, but they left room for a second season. There's kind of a cliffhanger, which I know you hate, but
I don't hate cliffhangers. It depends how they're handled. What would you say was going to Archive
81.
81.
And I had to think about
based on anything or not.
It's based on a podcast.
Okay.
It's based on a podcast. And actually, I was thinking about making a video because apparently the main character, the woman who had died 25 years ago, in the podcast is just a straight up lesbian.
Okay.
And in the show, it's implied that she's bisexual, but really only shown that she only shows a romantic interest in a guy. So it's funny because
weird.
people are already complaining, saying, "Did you straight watch this character?" It's like, but it does heavily imply that she's bisexual. But it's just it's funny because apparently in the podcast, no, she's fully gay, but they changed the character slightly.
Having no investment in the source material, I don't care too much, but I would always fall in the side of keeping things to the source material. So if people were to complain, I would take their side on that. Like,
it frankly has no effect on anything.
That's just how I fall on things, you know.
It's like the most unimportant part of the entire show. It has nothing to do with anything. But I just thought it was funny because I saw a few people complaining about it, and I was like, "Oh my god, like who cares really?" Because there's no romantic involvement in any of this. It's all.
I'm sure it doesn't matter at all.
It's all thriller and a little bit of horror and a little bit of I don't know.
Well, that's what I don't get when people get upset about shit with characters that romance was never an issue for, right? Remember the big stink where retroactively J.K. Rowling came out and said Dumbledore was gay, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the stink from either side because, it's kind of dumb to retroactively make your character stuff and not put it in the source material. But also, at what point did that have anything to do with Dumbledore's character that people got mad at? Like, it doesn't change anything. Like, I didn't understand the stink on either side of that. At all.
He's never depicted in any kind of romantic relationship.
Yeah. So it really doesn't matter one way or the other.
Yeah. It's the same thing with this. I mean,
basically
she has a friend who's a girl. She has a friend who's a guy. There's a little bit of sexual tension here and there, but ultimately that has nothing to do with the plot. And it's just like one or two scenes out of 8 whole episodes of show. So I just thought it was funny that they kind of went the opposite way and made her straighter.
Oh, you know what? I've seen the cover for this. The image with the split down the middle for Archive 81. And I saw it because somebody was making like a joke post on Twitter between this and Lock and Key, which has like almost an identical looking image. No, it wasn't Lock and Key. It was Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is the one that has almost because Cloak's on one side, Dagger's on the other. It's got the split down. And they're like, which one should I watch between Cloak and Dagger and Archive 81? I haven't seen Cloak and Dagger either, so I don't know if that's good. This is probably better. Most Marvel stuff is better.
Is there a Cloak and Dagger show?
I thought they were making one at least. I don't know if it ever came out.
I remember the movie. I loved the movie. When I was a kid, that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's a recommend. I enjoyed it very much. 8 episodes, not very long.
Yeah, there's a Cloak and Dagger series that came out 2018 through 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it either. I did see Lock and Key, completely unrelated to either of these things. First season was fine. I haven't seen anything after that if they continued it, but
yeah.
I think the problem was it was too obscure for most people to understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm. I will warn you, it's a bit of a slow burn. It takes a little while to sort of get into it, but...
that's never really bothered me.
Yeah. But at any rate, like I said, I might do a video just laughing at people who are upset about it. Because it's really a great show. There's no reason to be upset about it. But at any rate.
Oh, I'm going to find something to get upset about.
Yeah.
something really mundane. It's like, she was wearing horrible shoes in that scene. Whole show's ruined. They should have had her wearing, I don't know, Mary Jane's or something.
Yeah, supposedly takes place in 1997 or something like that. So it's like, wait a minute, that car didn't come out until 1999.
I was there.
That's right. But anyway, I think we made it.
Yeah, we did. Somehow, some way. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with somebody else who might enjoy it. It helps out more than you think. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live to help pay for our hosting fees, which actually did just come up 2 days ago. I got the notification on that. So anything added now will just basically retroactively help me reimburse what has been spent on it. But it all helps out. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.